Hi folks, this is Raspberry Pi 500 Plus. It's brand new and its features are truly amazing. At the first glance, if you compare it to Raspberry Pi 500, you can see that there is a much larger keyboard, but the computer's dimensions are just a little bit larger than Raspberry Pi 500. It is just for about 1.5 centimeters longer and about 1 centimeter higher. But from the inside, there are two more things that are really important. These are 16 gigabytes of RAM and an inbuilt 256 gigabytes SSD drive. In contrast with Raspberry Pi 500, Raspberry Pi 500 Plus comes with a pre-installed Raspberry Pi OS Bookworm operating system. Though there is no SD card that we are used to with Raspberry Pi 500, it starts immediately after plugging in the power supply. An empty SD card slot may now be used just like on any classic PC. You can use it for copying data or installing operating systems. A usual external USB to SD card adapter is only needed when one empty SD card socket is not enough. Let's now talk a little bit about the gaming keyboard that is a part of Raspberry Pi 500, which seems to be made from the central part of a regular size gaming keyboard compared to Raspberry Pi 500 keyboard, which seems to be the central part of a laptop keyboard. Raspberry Pi's 500 Plus keyboard has a longer key leverage and also makes a mechanical click when pressing a key. There are a number of page controls keys added with functions page up, page down, home and end, which were only accessible with a number of combinations of keys on the Raspberry Pi 500's keyboard. There are also F12 and F11 keys, which are common on full-sized keyboards. A majority of the keys are of the same size, so we can interchange them with the enclosed cap replacement tool, which is exactly what kids may like to play with. I also expect keycap sets for different languages to be available in the future for purchase from your local Raspberry Pi distributor. Its LED illumination is truly amazing. Every key has at least one color LED underneath. As Raspberry Pi 500 Plus is turned on for the first time, LED lighting just turns up shortly and shows vivid colors as Raspberry Pi boots, and then it turns off completely. There are 4 keys which control Raspberry Pi 500 Plus illumination during normal operation after USB ports are enabled by RP1 microcontroller. If you hold down FN key on the right bottom side of the keyboard, keyboard illumination mode can be changed by pressing repeatedly F4 key. The intensity of keyboard illumination is regulated by F5 and F6 keys, where F5 lowers the illumination and F6 key makes it brighter. Similarly, by pressing and holding down Fn plus F10 or F11 or F12 key, you can control sound. F10 mutes sound, F11 lowers the volume, and F12 increases the volume. What is even more interesting is that this also works on any Raspberry Pi, but Raspberry Pi 500 or Raspberry Pi keyboard or Raspberry Pi 400 simply doesn't have volume management keys, like Microsoft Natural Keyboard for instance. But if you attach a keyboard which has this case, then you can also control sound. The power on key on the right top corner of the keyboard is the only special key which lighting cannot be regulated, and it's got a red and green diode. Green is lighted when the computer is running and red is lighted when it is turned off but still connected to the power supply. Raspberry Pi 500 Plus is made to be disassembled. There is a small white bag with a QR code including 2 tools to be used with your Raspberry Pi 500 Plus, a black keycap replacement tool and a white chisel for opening the case. If you want to disassemble it, you have to first turn the computer around and unscrew 5 bolts. Then you have to use a white plastic chisel from the enclosed bag to remove the upper part with a keyboard from the computer. You have to start in the middle of the keyboard where there is a large indent where you can place the plastic chisel, and you can work it around from the both sides to split the 2 halves. Be careful about the keyboard cable, which can be unconnected either from the black connector on the Raspberry Pi 500's printed circuit board or the white connector on the keyboard side. Raspberry Pi 500's official disassembly instructions are provided from raspberrypi.com/documentation/accessories webpage. As we look down to the Raspberry Pi 500 Plus underneath, first a large aluminum cooling plate can be spotted, as well as SSD drive that now has its own M.2 Type M connector. There is also a screw that holds the SSD in place. There is a number of holes with threads where a smaller or a larger sized SSD drive may be fixed to. Replacing the SSD drive therefore is very easy. You can use any kind of SSD drive with M.2 M key connector that's not larger than 2280. A careful observer can spot a battery connector for the real-time clock, which is easily inbuilt, provided that you have enough room to place the battery assembly inside the small space within Raspberry Pi 500 Plus case. Installing a smaller SSD drive would spare enough room for the real-time clock battery. I suggest using a rechargeable battery or a non-rechargeable battery with a protective diode connected in series. Standard rechargeable battery assembly for Raspberry Pi 5 would usually fit into Raspberry Pi 500 Plus case. Further disassembly of Raspberry Pi 500 Plus is relatively easy, but you have to ask yourself what you could achieve by doing so. Actually, if you undo further two bolts that hold the cooling plate down to the system on chip, you can easily remove it. You don't have to pull it like on the old Raspberry Pi 500. Though the printed circuit board is still the same as on Raspberry Pi 500, it is now obvious that the keyboard controller position is empty, as well as there is no keyboard connector. The illuminated keyboard is actually connected to another black connector, which is soldered to unpopulated contacts on Raspberry Pi 500 PCB. On the left-hand side, we can again spot empty positions for the power over Ethernet circuit. So immediately a question arises, is there going to be another Raspberry Pi 500 iteration with even more functionalities in the future? According to the list price of Raspberry Pi 500 Plus, which is $200, I guess this iteration would cost even more, about $250 or $220. But it, on my opinion, depends on what the computer market demands would be and how much interest there would be in the new computer and its further iteration. If we continue the disassembly, we can spot a plastic shield over USB connectors. This is easily removed. The only step remaining is to remove the PCB itself from the case. The PCB is held down with two plastic hooks, which have to be pushed back as the plate is pulled up. But I strongly discourage you from doing so, because there is a great chance that you might break something. There is also not much to see on the bottom side of the PCB, though we can spot that now the SSD's power management chip is installed together with all previously missing elements, which provide power to M.2 connector. If you've liked this video, please press like and subscribe buttons, and don't forget about the notification bell. If you really like it, then hype it as well. See you in the next video. Bye.